Hello and welcome to the second mission for the crew of the USS Kintsugi. This is a session of Star Trek Adventures. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him. This is on the part of the Open Hearth gaming community. You can find out more about that. I'll have a link to that in the show notes. I have a bunch of videos, including the rest of this series and a whole bunch of other things. If you enjoy this, check out, like, subscribe. And I also have a Patreon that supports all of this stuff. Links in the show notes. But we are Sans, a player, sort of found out about that last minute, but I've got a plan for our particular mission, and we're going to get started here. I do want to say, so this is a game, Star Trek Adventures, that has that weird thing with milestones, and characters don't actually change that much. We'll, at the end of this mission, I will give people a chance to do like a basic milestone if there are things they want to swap around or change out or flip on things. And I probably will, after the next mission, give everybody, just for the sake of things, an advancement of some kind, like the one where you can get a new talent or you can raise up one of your attributes. So we will have a little bit of change of characters here, because I find when I play games that don't have advancement, it is a little wonky. It's just what I expect. I need my cookies to be put before me on the tray. Anybody have any questions or anything that they need to change around character-wise? You should all recover your stress, and everybody should reset your determination to 1 if it is not already reset to that. Okay. So we are going to come in. We see an image of a starbase. We can see several ships hooked up to it, a lot of Andorian ships. We can see this is labeled as Starbase 17, which was built by the Andorians. It's on like one of the furthest out of the original series of starbases, for a classic old style, like somebody's taken the original series model and has done some touch-ups on it to make it look a little fancier. But we can see the Kintsugi parked there, and we might even get a quarter shot of crew personnel with bags going back and forth there, onto the transporter pad and then heading off. And then in the tones of the Tellarite, we get the voiceover for the captain's log.
Stardate 4638 1.3, Acting Commander Lital's log, with Commander Carlton and First Officer Andala away at a meeting of senior officers to discuss the Bajoran wormhole situation. I've been placed temporarily in charge of the Kintsugi. I've been overseeing crew change here at Starbase 17. With the maiden flight done, construction specialist teams are departing for other assignments and more permanent personnel are rotating in. Frankly, I consider this a waste of time. Having at last managed to get the existing engineering team to begin to meet the standards I have set them, I now find I will be starting all over again. This kind of inefficiency is typical. However, Starfleet Command has interrupted that process with new orders. Another inefficiency. We are to be assigned a temporary commanding officer, apparently a captain, to helm the Kintsugi for a time-sensitive priority mission. I am trying not to take this as a personal judgment. Lieutenant Veit and I will head to the transporter room shortly to greet the new commander, along with a team they're apparently bringing on board.
And I think
entry ends.
Yes, I think we see Veit and Lital doing that walk down the corridor, heading towards the transporter room. What is the conversation between the two of you?
Well, it's good to see that command doesn't change your mood, Lital.
I simply do not understand why there is such inefficiency in the systems within which we work. The captain is away. We have a relatively straightforward job to do. We want to get on with doing it. And then suddenly there's a new captain, a new mission, and everything else changes. You cannot believe, Vate, that this makes sense.
Well, all I know is that you work best when you're frustrated, and I can always sense the frustration coming off you 7 decks away. That's all.
Yes, I wish you wouldn't do that.
The doors will open, will come in, and of course, because they're a primary character, we will see Ensign Ward there at the transporter controls, handling this. The sense we get is that some of the last of the changeover personnel have gone through, and Ward, you've been told there are 2 sets of beam ups. They've called down and sent for you to do the first batch, and we'll see you at the controls. Like, is this comfortable for you? Is this casual? Like, you've got the acting commander and stuff. Like, what's the mood we see on your face here?
I mean, I think I remember when Latal was first going over personnel. He mentioned that Ward was wasted at the con and should have been in engineering. I think if he has dug any deeper into her academy records, he will see that she had first placed in engineering, and then switched post Wolf 359. So I think, she's probably not done a lot of it lately, but she is kind of familiar with the process. She's done it a bunch of times. So getting back into the rhythm, and maybe before Latal arrives, there's a little bit of a whispered scuttlebutt conversation going on over him being passed over, and who is this captain who's going to arrive, and all of the usual junior ranks rumor mongering.
So we'll see everybody come in and do that stand to, kind of watching the pad, and we'll see the transporter effect. It's very close to Next Generation. What have they done, Vate, to kind of just change up the transporter effect to make it unique for this particular series?
Oh, I mean, it's got bits of green in, right, as opposed to the standard classic blue. There are flickers of green going in there.
Yeah, maybe we're even a little worried that the Kintsugi's transporters might be something wrong with them in the coloration. But you will beam up, and as that fades away, you will see 5 figures standing on the platform. You will see 2 Starfleet security officers, weapons in hand, and they are kind of standing at attention, and they're sort of flanking on either side 3 figures who are all in red jumpsuits. You will see there is an older, wrinkled male Orion, a female Orion, and a very tall, gravely wounded, like clearly lost an eye, has scars on them. One of the particular of the Klingon sub races, the sub peoples, they have various genetic lines, human fusion, standard, and so on. And they are all in essentially security shackles. And the 2 guards, one of them will step up to where you are, Vate, and say, "Your security."
Yes. Why is the weapons drawn, gentlemen?
Precautions. You'll take charge of these 3.
I suppose if that's the mission.
And they'll kind of move these 3 off of the transport platform. And Ward, you'll get the signal that there's additional personnel, and there'll be another beam up, and we will see that there are 4 figures this time. We see 2 more in red jumpsuits, a woman of a species you're not entirely familiar with, sort of the silver colored skin, who is more actively looking around than any of the others. The others seem kind of beaten down a little bit, but she is clearly taking things in and watching the area. Alongside her is what appears to be a Vulcan, also in manacles. The sort of the electronic restraints there, who has the typical Vulcan calm demeanor, and they are sort of directed off by a lieutenant junior grade, an Orion woman, who kind of moves them off. And it's at that point, Ward, that you will hear the dulcet tones that you remember as Captain Haskell greets you. Ensign Ward. And Captain Haskell steps down off the transporter pad, not paying any attention to anybody else, and comes over to where you're at. Well, it has been a long time. How are you?
Doing well, sir.
Excellent. Excellent. It's good to see both a familiar face, and she'll turn and look at Lital, and a friendly face here.
Captain.
Commander. Is it Commander now?
Lieutenant Commander.
Lieutenant Commander Lital. I see that you made it off of Utopia Planitia.
Indeed. And I think pull myself to a brisk, upright. The captain, the ship is yours, Captain Haskell.
Thank you. Thank you. Acknowledged, and he'll say the time for the Starfleet records. And he will turn to Vate and he will say, as you can imagine, this is a complicated situation. I know that the Kintsugi has 3 holding cells. I want you to place the Orions and our Klingon guest in their. Sorry, I apologize. I want you to put they puts the Vulcan to the Klingon and to the woman with the white skin. Says they need to be placed in isolated holding cells. Points to the 2 Orions and says they can be placed under surveillance in a makeshift room, again secured, if you would.
So just to recap our prisoners, we have a Klingon, 2 Orions, a female with a silver-skinned coloured species, and a Vulcan.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have 5 prisoners, 3 holding cells, and he wants the everybody but the Orions in the holding cells, basically. Yes. And the Orions are the low grade. I didn't realize the Kintsugi is not a prison transport, sir. Surely there are better vessels for this.
It is a prison transport today. I'll have a briefing with senior officers, yourself, Lital, and others in the meeting room at 0800 hours. Ensign Ward, I'll need someone who knows the ship to show me around. And since we've worked together, I think I'll, if you don't mind, you can act as my number 2 for this mission, if you don't mind.
Of course, sir. As you say.
Okay.
Can I ask, does Ward mind?
Oh, she definitely minds.
And
I mean,
obviously they will sense that and look across at you and like raise an eyebrow, as in like, you sure?
Yeah, I think this is probably the closest to hostility Vate has ever sensed in Word. Even
well, I wasn't
Cardassians who were shooting at them last week.
I wasn't there when you shot at Cardassians, so
cool. You have your orders, Ensign.
Haskell will say, I'm going to head down to my ready room to go over things. Again, the meeting at 0800. Commander Lital, I know you're a model of efficiency, so I'll expect a full written briefing on the current state of the engines. I understood that there were some issues.
I will have the report for you within the hour, Captain.
Excellent. And Vate, I think you can sense the sheer smugness and amusement coming off of Haskell in all of this. And he will go, and I think that like the security people start taking the people off so that the three of you have a moment here. Is there any conversation? Is there a glance, or do we just cut right away?
Congratulations, Ensign.
Thank you, Commander.
That's okay. I don't mean it. And I walk away.
You know, sometimes being an empath really lets you see what people really mean. You don't need any of that with Latal. It's great.
Well, yeah. I mean, it takes some getting used to, you know.
Yeah. Anyway, you know, stay frosty, and Ward. You wanna slip the captain? I'm just a comm badge away. I can come up with some excuse to keep you away from your assigned duty, I'm sure.
Well, I think I can't let my personal feelings get in the way of my duty, right?
Well, that's the theory. That's what they teach you at the academy, I'm sure. And I smile. And I think as you see me go out into the corridor, I bump into a certain Andorian, and you hear, Villic, how are you feeling? So, how would you like to join security for one more mission? Okay, we've got 2 Orions that I need you to. Shh.
Nice. And I do think there is that shot of Ward kind of standing there at the transporter there for a moment before we kind of fade out to the opening credits. We see the Kintsugi, we do the flybys, we get the glamour shots, we get our particular new musical theme here. It's the variation on the Star Trek theme. And as I mentioned before, the credits have that thing where to kind of transition, everything shatters and then reforms in different shapes. And we come back to a meeting room, the classic sort of meeting room on a starship. But of course, this is a new set. This is a new setup. Alan Latal, what is different about this meeting room than the one we've seen on the Enterprise or other ships?
I think that the meeting table is circular rather than long and narrow. Yeah, that's the principal difference, I think. Fitting with the shape of the room, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the room is less that length along the side and clearly more in a different location there. I think maybe we can see out one side. We can see the space whizzing by, but I think on the other side we actually see water, such that the cetaceans can participate in the meeting. So we know kind of where we are physically on the ship. We have to be either on the top of the saucer or the bottom of that to kind of mark that out. And it is the 3 of you plus some of the other senior command staff that we haven't necessarily named. Of course, we don't have Andala or our captain, but we probably see the person who's in charge of sciences, the person who's in charge of overall security for the ship, who has kind of assigned you, Vate, to be in charge of overseeing the prisoners in specific. And Haskell, you've all sat down and are waiting, and Haskell's looks over his pad and you see him twiddle for a bit, and he will finally stop and say, So I'm really glad to see everyone here. We have a mission of some importance to Starfleet. Ostensibly, we are conducting a prisoner transport. Some of you may be aware of the third-party Rigellan-run penal colony at Fentarsen, a prison and holding facility. It is sometimes used for transfers between different associated peoples. We are transporting our Orion guest, our Klingon guest, and the other woman, which I'll talk about in a moment, to there where they are going to be permanently ensconced at Fentarsen. The actual reason for our transit is the final prisoner. He is only to be referred to as prisoner 729. He is a bioengineered Romulan spy. We are heading to Fentarsen to conduct a exchange of prisoners on the QT. We will be handing back prisoner 729 to the Romulans, and in exchange, they will be releasing a set of Federation officers captured in the line of duty, including, and he'll look at you, Ward and Latal, my first officer, Devane Orlis. This matter, as you can imagine, is very important to me. Fentarsen is a planet protected by a set of gravatic wells. The planet apparently was involved generations ago with some attempted structural engineering on the planet itself that created a series of warp fields in the orbits around the planet, as well as destroying both of their moons to create a debris field. Passage into Fentarsen requires communication with the Fentarsen buoys and so on. It helps keep anyone from just coming in to do a jailbreak. So once we get there, there's going to be some tricky flying that we're going to be requiring. The other prisoners, besides prisoner 729, the two Orions were captured very unusually. They did not manage to detonate their ship in time. They've been held at a Federation facility for the past year and a half, but arrangements are being made to transfer them to Fentarsen, in part to help provide a little bit of cover for us. The Klingon is more dangerous. His name is Kagash. He is a renegade Klingon, exiled from one of the noble houses, who spent several years as a pirate. We know that he destroyed at least 4 colonies in his time. He is also being placed at Fentarsen. Finally, the last person, and I need to make you particularly aware of this, Vate. Her name is Ragini Zenvast. She is, from what we can tell, a psychopath, but she is also a psychic. And she has used those powers in the past to assist her in her killings. Her powers are limited right now. She requires a crystalline matrix to be able to focus and use her abilities. So it's important that anything like that be kept out of her vicinity. That's why I want her and 729 and our Klingon guest in individual holding cells with force fields.
Makes sense. I mean, even on Beta Z, we have killers. Believe it or not, some people like the feeling.
That's my understanding. It's not something I've ever had to wrestle with. So, Latal?
Forgive me, Captain. Frog in my throat.
Sorry, you didn't have anything to contribute?
Listening carefully, Captain.
Fair enough. Obviously, I'm apologize for the disruption that this is going to cause. I know that your commander is well regarded, and this is early days for your vessel, but we will do this mission, get through it, and then I will move back to my former command. Are there any questions?
I've simply looked down, just checking my ad.
Excellent. Well, there's no questions.
Question, sir.
Yes, Lieutenant Vate.
729. He doesn't have a name?
He does. However, given the situation that he was involved with, it was decided that that is need to know basis as to the identity that he assumed within the Federation.
And just so I understand, sir, I'm not up to date on my Romulan bioengineering techniques, but he wasn't reared from birth like this, was he? He was changed.
That is my understanding. They have some ability to biosculpt and bioshape. Vulcans, as I understand it, are the easiest for them to copy.
Any evidence of other abilities, such as the Vulcan telepathy, sir?
I don't have the full files on 729 beyond that, but I would assume we should act as if we suspected that he had the full range of abilities. He is an unknown quantity, a dangerous factor, so we should watch him carefully. These are prisoners, and it would be good to get them to their destination, but the ship is more important. Dismissed.
Captain, just one thing. I noticed that Lieutenant Tatassa has remained on board. I assumed that she would have returned to Starbase 17 before our departure.
She is. I asked her to come with me in case we have issues arising from the Orions. Lieutenant Vate, you can use her to help you get the 2 Orion prisoners situated. She's very clever. She's just been promoted. I'm hoping this will be a chance for me to see her in the field and perhaps request her as part of the crew of my upcoming command.
As we leave the conference room, I think an aside to Vate along the lines of Captain Haskell always has an eye for young talent.
Well, lucky for Ward then.
I hope so.
And we'll kind of cut away from that. Vate, I think the sort of the question kind of starts with you, and then I want to come around on tasks that you're undertaking before, of course, I'll throw up the monkey wrench in the works. But let's start with you, Vate. How do you want to handle the arrangement of the security? What are you doing to contain the Orions? Are you bringing on assistance? What do you think we're going to see here?
I think we will see Tvelik escorting the two Orions into a makeshift cell, which I'm kind of imagining is a storeroom with a temporary force field set up on the door, where and he's going to just run food and stuff back and forth for them. The others are held in with the prisoner escort and myself taken to the holding cells. Maybe like a long stare at prisoner 729 as we, exchange, and then maybe a giggle from Ria Genie Zenvost.
And 729 has that look of equanimity as he's put into his cell. The prisoner transports that came on board will do their final clearance so that they can return to Starbase 17. And Regini, as she's there, she goes, I know you.
I think I'd remember.
I think you will. And then she goes into the cell.
Keep an eye on that one, I say to the nameless red shirt who's obviously going to be standing guard here.
Absolutely. The Klingon gives you that as he is moved into the cell, gives you that look at you, and he says, if I get out, you'd better kill me.
Don't worry about that. If you get out, that's definitely going to happen.
Good. And he'll go into his cell. Is there anything now? You've got some empathy, some things here. Let's. Is there anything you want to do mechanics wise? Obviously, obtain information. Using your empathic ability seems like a reasonable thing to do here.
Yeah, I think the one that gives you the most pause for thought is always the silent one, right? The one who doesn't say anything. The inscrutable, apparently Vulcan, who are notoriously hard to read empathy-wise. But perhaps, what does a bioengineered Romulan spy feel like to an empath?
Absolutely. What do you think is the role for that? And I need to bring up the roller here.
Yes, me too.
Yonder, 20, stellar travel.
And if you give it a second, it usually loads back up the stats as well. There we go. I think that is an insight security. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Do you have a focus that applies?
Espionage, mediation, psychometry. I don't think either of any of those apply.
Right. Okay. So let's have you roll. Think difficulty 1 to get a question.
Well, that is one success.
So what is it that you want to know?
I want to know is he waiting? Is there any feeling of anticipation or of waiting, like expectation?
He feels very calm. Like he knows that this is all going to go smooth. That this is a prisoner exchange. He expects to go back home to Romulus. but also there's clearly some contingencies that have been put into place. But otherwise, he says, I think that this is probably the clearest moment where you realize that this is definitely not a Vulcan, like, because you are reading more of him than you might otherwise. Does that seem fair?
Mhm.
Okay. Let me come to Lieutenant Commander Latal. What scene do we want to see of you here with this new crew, with this pressure from the new captain? What do we see here?
I think enormous suspicion. This seems to Latal, it just seems off. And so I think that I'd like to lean into my talent of incisive scrutiny. I want to look at the orders we've received with respect to this, whether anything that Haskell has briefed us on are in the orders that we received in terms of what Starfleet is requesting of us. And I want to stress test that meeting against these orders. When you succeed at a task using control or insight, you gain 1 bonus momentum.
So insight plus command?
I was thinking of control plus security, actually, because I'm worried about threat.
I think this feels like insight to me.
Okay.
But
okay.
I'll let you do security. That seems good.
So that is insight is 9, security is 2, so that is 11.
Okay.
And I suppose the bit that this just feels like it's too off books. So I think I'd like to use the focus Starfleet protocols.
Absolutely. Let's have you roll.
Insight and security, and roll the test. That is a 12 and a 1.
12 and a 1. So that's I believe 3 successes for you?
No, because I'm against 11.
Okay.
So the one generates 2 successes.
So this is difficulty 2. So you're going to get 1 question from the roll, and then 1 question obtain information that you can make.
Exactly.
Here. What is your question? Like, what is the first question that you have?
Is he telling the truth
about the mission?
I am suspicious about Haskell's motives at all times, and the convenience of him being given command of a mission to exchange a Romulan spy for his former number 1 just doesn't sit right with me.
It is the mission that you've been given is definitely the mission that Haskell has briefed you on. This has come down from Starfleet Command. It's clear they're pretty serious about this, given the prisoners that they're transporting over. It's kind of a gray area of handing these people off to non-Federation judicial authorities or penal authorities. On the other hand, none of these people come from Federation space or are Federation citizens. And it is a reasonable cover to include this if there was some embarrassment that had been caused by prisoner 729.
So it is
the one
it is
detail I will
books, but
mention
for a
is
decent reason.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is it's pretty clear that Haskell did ask for the assignment.
Okay. And I suppose the other thing I'm concerned about is Ward. I am concerned about Ward's professional and personal well-being in this context.
How so?
Haskell has track record, and selecting someone as inexperienced as Ensign Ward as his kind of personal gopher number 2 on this one just strikes me as a concern. And do I have any reason to worry about Ward based on what I've been told or what I've read?
There is something in the records when you go to look at this. There is a situation with a question. You weren't on board ship or part of the crew at this time, involving an issue regarding potential violation of the Prime Directive. And it was Ward who really stood up for Haskell and cleared him.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Ward, with that in mind, what is the scene that we're going to see for you?
I think I'm working with whoever is at the con and the helm of the ship right now, because the system we're flying into sounds, trickier than most, to say the least. So I am just trying to get down to brass tacks and create a helm plan, a route plan to get us through.
So we know that this planet has a lot of debris in orbit. It has these variable gravatic pockets that change. There are orbital stations run by the Pelennor colony that kind of know how they work and can forecast it on a short-term basis and can send up information for the controls and so on. But you want to kind of look at this situation and like make preparations so that the ship is ready for this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that feels like you're trying to create a trait.
Okay.
What do you want to roll that with?
So I'm not sure if this is reason, if it's kind of analysis, or if it's control in terms of precision and accuracy.
Well, I like any of those. I mean, depending on what your style is, like how do you think Ward would approach it?
I think we'll put up the files for the logs for anyone who's been through here recently and see if we can get sensor readings, some first-hand accounts, basically first-hand data of what's going on rather than just a general description. And then, I think practically speaking, like maybe simulating the trip with the con and helm officers to just get them used to the situation.
That seems great. Does that feel like helm operations then for this?
Yeah.
Or even astronavigation actually might even be appropriate here.
Yeah, either of those work.
So do you definitely have a focus? So what do you want to roll with? Or what do you, sorry, go ahead and roll. We know what you're going to roll.
Yeah.
With.
So let's say control con.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 15/4.
Yeah. So it's a 14 and a 4. So
that's 3 successes. So it's 2 successes to create the trait, which is essentially like our plan for the gravatic well. We'll kind of, so we know that's there. It'll reduce the difficulties when you go into that situation. You've spent time planning that out. And you've got one more momentum, which you can use to ask a question, or you can put it into the pool.
I think I'm gonna bank it.
Okay.
I'm like tempted to use it to, like, when I'm explaining the plan to Haskell, to get a read on him, but I'm really trying to avoid him
right
until we need to be on the bridge together.
Absolutely. I have this weird thing where it keeps resetting the momentum pool for me. Hang on 1 second. Trying to format, merge all, one. Okay, we'll just do it like that. Yeah, so you will get that in place, and I think that the scene kind of ends with Ensign Ward to the captain's ready room.
And I guess there's got to be another officer on the bridge for me to have the con, right?
Absolutely. You're maybe getting some looks because there are lieutenants and lieutenant junior grades that are maybe a little bit miffed that like you've been chosen to have this plum role during this upcoming mission.
Yeah, they can send all letters of complaint to Lieutenant Commander Latal, right?
Can I just check in? Am I still first officer then?
No. He's essentially put you back in engineering, and he's put Ward in your place.
Oh, right, number 1, not number 2.
Yes. So let's take our break. And when I come back, I want to kind of go around. We'll call some scenes. I have some stuff to throw at you, but I'll give you a chance to play out in the ship, get some everyday shots of who the characters are and everything.
Yeah, I feel like this is the part of the of the episode where when you turn to the players and you go, "What do you do?" That invites the RPG thing of like, "Well, I know that stuff's going to go down." Whereas we're in the Star Trek before the stinger, right before what happens, right?
Absolutely. So we'll take 10 and we'll come back. Yeah, so we did a commercial break. We come back from break. Can we get the shot of the ship flying, the stars going past, and the voiceover from Latal?
Stardate 4638 3.1, Chief Engineer's Personal Log Supplemental. While it may appear that personal pique informs my suspicion of Captain Haskell's judgment in promoting an ensign to be first officer, some will say it is a striking piece of crew development. However, I know this man, and I know his motives are driven by selfishness, not by such enlightened practice. I must find a way to warn Ensign Ward without directly undermining the captain's decision. It will require great tact and subtlety. Log entry ends.
I do imagine that we maybe get a shot of you in the engineering bay demonstrating your tact and subtlety with this new crew that is not measuring up to your expectations. Lieutenant Vate, what do we want to see? I'm going to kind of do our go around in the order we had before. What is the scene that we want to see for you? Do you want to call with one of the PCs, with an NPC? Are you looking into something? Are you checking on the prisoners? What do you want?
I think sat in front of Zenvost's holding cell, staring at her across the force field. So, I'm not familiar with your species. Can you all sense what others feel? Mine can.
Ah, yes, the Beta Z. They have such a delightful array of children's abilities. I'm sorry, that was unpleasant of me.
Well, I hear it was the least I have to worry about. But we have a few tricks. And you adjust the blade on his side. And he looks at her. So, but it does make it stranger for those of us who can feel the pain that we're doing.
I think you've hit the rub of it. You can feel the pain you're doing.
And you like that.
I like that. in controlled doses, let us say.
Fascinating.
My people are called the Sadakoli.
I take it you're not applying for Starfleet membership anytime soon.
No, I'm not even sure the Federation has visited my homeworld yet. I managed to leave. A free trader that came through. I hitched a ride from there. But I have traveled around the systems, and you can imagine my surprise when I saw a member of a Federation carrying that.
You're familiar.
Aren't you?
Too much.
Oh, I think you're familiar with it, but I don't think you know what it is, do you?
A relic of a dead species. Something more?
Of course, there's something more.
Well, maybe I can pay you a visit on Fentarsen, and you can tell me all about it.
I think you're being insincere. I sense your insincerity.
And they told me you needed a matrix for that. I guess they don't know everything. No.
I need a matrix for, and she'll stop.
Almost had you then, didn't I? And I pull out the blade. I go, it is an interesting piece. You know, in our last mission, well. Well, if you'd like to exchange stories anytime, I know where to find you.
She will nod. Do you want to try and get a read on her? Do you want to kind of use your human perception here?
Yeah, I do for sure, 100%. I'll do the same roll, I think.
Pierce the veil, as it were.
Yeah. As it says on the empath ability, it may require effort to pick out the emotions of a specific individual in a crowd. I think being on the ship is always kind of like being in a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And the difficulty of this task may be increased if the target has resistance to telepathy or other relevant factors.
I think right now, to get basic info, that's difficulty 2.
Okay. Then I will. You know what? I'm going to be cheeky and spend that momentum that we have in the pool to get myself an extra die.
Okay.
I'd be losing money not doing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's a 20, so that's a complication. But I do get once, and I only get one success.
So the 19 is also a complication here for her.
Ooh, but for her.
For 2 complications. Well, it's a complication because of her presence here. That is a little bit of my threat spend. So
can I spend my determination to reroll all of those?
Absolutely.
Yeah, then I will do. Why not?
What value are you hitting to spend that determination?
All life has its reasons, whether they know it or not.
Okay. So I do think there is that, like, we get that shot of the 2 of you staring at one another, and you can feel like the psychic pressure of the power that she has, and she's kind of pushing. And I think that there then is a moment when there's a spark from the blade, and she winces back. You've got 4 successes. Difficulty was 2. What do you want to know?
What I want to know is specifically where did she know me from? You know, like I want to get a vision perhaps of that, because she clearly knows me, and she's seen a Starfleet officer with the blade. It seems to indicate that she'd seen me before this stay on the ship.
You can see her pulling another one of those blades out of her and tossing it to the ground. Clearly not your blade, but there's a figure in the background who has clearly stabbed her with it. And as she's holding the wound, you can see her get a psychic flash of you. And then it goes black for her. And you're not sure if it's that vision, that like the memory, like she passes out, or if her psychic vision is after she meets you, there's nothing more. You've got 2 momentum.
Momentum.
You can spend that to ask further questions or clarifying questions, or you can toss that in the pool, or you can do a mix.
I will return 1 to the pool.
Okay.
And my other spend will be, does she have any allies on board?
No, she is alone.
She is alone.
Like she clearly doesn't think she has any allies on board. Like she's pretty certain that she is in this on her own.
Yeah, there's the rush of psychic, and I just step back, you know, and I think to both me and Zenvost, you know, the blade held in front seems to glow with a light so bright that neither of us can look at it. And as we both, like, the camera pans back, and there's just a quizzical look from a security guard who's clearly not seen anything at all.
Right.
You okay there, Lieutenant? The field went a bit weird for a second there. You know, like, yeah, I'm fine. I look up at Zenvost. Yeah. I can see that you're intimately familiar with these things. And I put the blade away.
And see her hand goes up to her shoulder to where she was stabbed. And she goes and she sits down, you know, that kind of sit, pulls her legs up, puts her arms across her knees, kind of just watching.
Be careful with this one, I say as I out the door, you know, staring down at the blade as the camera goes.
Perfect. Latal, what do we see of you now? Like, what's the scene that you want to call?
I'd like a scene involving Ensign Ward.
Okay.
I think probably in the first officer's office, where I am formally handing over the role. In a slightly difficult conversation, which in Latal's language means moving into incredible detail about duty rosters, the current arrangements I have made in terms of rotation of duties, and so on, and so on, and so on.
I think you noticed like 2 data pads in front of Ward. One is, you know, the kind of astro navigation stuff that she was working on before, and the other one is the detailed transfer orders of command to Haskell. Commander, why don't you just say it? Because it's painful to watch you restrain yourself.
I understand that we have both shared the pleasure of serving with Captain Haskell.
Before, you mean?
Previously.
Oh.
My experience may not have been as positive as yours.
That bad, huh?
I simply want you to understand, Ensign, that sometimes principle costs, but principle is important. And if I can be of assistance in clarifying those matters, I would be very happy to do so. Do you
Natal,
understand what I am telling you?
Natal, I know exactly what kind of man our captain is.
Has your view of him changed since your first encounter?
You mean my very first encounter?
I understand that we have both experienced the captain's flexibility with respect to protocol. Protocol of the most fundamental kind. I simply would not wish to see a promising young officer come to grief.
Did you read my after action report regarding regarding our last mission? I may have. Well,
I did, and if I hadn't, I might well not have had this conversation with you now. And
okay.
I would not have described you as a promising young officer. Please be watchful.
Latal, I think I can say this without being insubordinate. If there's any danger to the Prime Directive on our current mission, I'll be cashiered before I see it run roughshod over.
Think more broadly. This may not just be about the Prime Directive.
Well, I think I think as any first officer might, before a mission, ask their captain if there's anything they're not telling the crew, and expect an honest answer.
That's a very enlightened view that I'm sure previous first officers would endorse. The office is yours, sir.
Thank you, Commander. I'm sure you'll be in this seat soon enough.
Until things become clearer, you know where I am.
And I think, as we see Latal disappear behind the doors, I murmur to myself that he's going to give himself an ulcer if he keeps holding it in like that. No idea whether Tellarite physiology allows stress to create ulcers, but probably.
I'm sure at some point we'll see Natal massaging his rather rotund tummy.
So Ward, do you have a scene that you'd like to call, or somebody that you'd like to talk to, or do you want me to throw something at you? What would you like here?
I mean, I think obviously, I've kind of signposted that I would like a one-on-one with Haskell, but maybe there's a better time for that.
Okay.
Once we're underway or whatever.
Yeah, a little further into the trip.
I wonder if it might be maybe like a scene with Adira or Farga or someone
Let me
more at Ward's level.
Let me suggest actually that there is that break that you take in the graveyard. With the there again, smaller, darker, a little bit like a seedy bar on a starship, and you will hear a voice say, "Is this seat taken?" And you will see Lieutenant Tatasa there, just kind of gestures.
No, take it, please.
And she'll sit down. We haven't been formally introduced. Lieutenant Tatasa. You know my name, but
Ensign Ward, you can call me Astrid. It's okay. We're in
but
the graveyard, ranks.
So, not acting first office. I don't know how to address on that.
Yeah, I mean not in the graveyard, acting ranks or whatever. First at the bar, maybe.
Permission to speak freely?
Go ahead, please.
You've served with Captain Haskell before.
I have.
What's he like? Is there anything I should know?
And I'll, gesture for another round of whatever we're having. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'm trying to get us like my read is that I can probably trust her, but I don't know her, right? And I've got to value trust must be earned, right? So I'm not gonna just tell this person what I think straight off the bat. Unless I want to have it make trouble for me or go against it. I don't know.
She will say, the being called up for this mission kind of came out of the blue. It's been a challenge for me, even with the Federation working to bring many more new people up into positions. But with my background, there's traditionally been a kind of mistrust. But Captain Haskell called me up and asked for me and gave me a full briefing on the situation. And I was very excited, though I feel like he hasn't really called on me for anything since we've gotten underway. I don't know if there's anything I'm supposed to be doing. Does he like initiative? Does he prefer people to follow orders? I don't know.
Let me put it this way. You've been chosen for very good reasons. Obviously, in terms of this prison transfer. So I would say you've earned this. Haskell hasn't given you anything that you haven't earned. And just bear that in mind. He may be your captain for a couple of years or whatever, but don't do anything you wouldn't do because of some sense of loyalty to him. I mean, you're loyal to Starfleet, right?
Yeah, you see her stop and kind of looks, because that's a weird way to put that. And she goes, well, yeah, he has mentioned that when he takes over the Shenzhou B, that there'd be a place for me there. I mean, that's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, captains ask for officers all the time. That's not
Are you
unusual.
going to be transferring there?
I
He
would
clearly
not.
has a great deal of regard for you.
Well, I've got to put in my time as an ensign, and I've just started here, so yeah, I wouldn't think so.
That's too bad. I it would be nice to know somebody when I go there.
Well, you're gonna be able to handle that, I'm sure. He hasn't asked me to go to his new ship, if that's what you're wondering.
Oh.
But if he did, I would not accept.
And that would make her stop. And if he offers me a position on his ship, do you think I should accept it?
Haven't I already answered that? I mean, I don't
I
know
don't
you.
think you have, given what you just said.
If I were you, I wouldn't.
Thank you. That's very helpful. And she will stand up and say, I should go.
Okay.
And I think we'll kind of cut that scene. Lieutenant Vate, let's come to you. And you're looking over the security records and readouts and things like that. And there is here in the readings, as you're glancing through, there is a brief anomaly, like energy anomaly in the systems, like someone used the shipboard sensors in the prison area.
How strange. It looks like someone's used the shipboard sensors in the prison area.
We call that the parrot effect in RPGs.
Yeah. But I just want to convey that every time they'll describe something, obviously the characters in Star Trek say it out loud for the audience. No one just goes and does something in silence. I nod at one of the. You know what? Com Latal.
Hey.
Lieutenant Commander?
Yes, mate. What is it? I'm busy.
You're always busy, Latal, but make some time for me, will you? One of the sensors. Getting some strange readings. Looks like someone was using the sensors down in the prison bay, in the holding cells. You weren't doing any scans down there, were you?
Me? No, why would I? Why would anyone? We know where they are. We know who's in them. Don't we? Are they still there?
Well, could be nothing. I'm just going to go check it out.
Well, look, leave it with me. I'll see if I can track down where the scan came from.
Oh, I've got my own sensors, Lital. Mark one eyeball never served me wrong.
Yes, but Mark, what eyeball tells you what you see, not what might have happened.
Thanks for looking into this, Lital.
I mean, Lital will busy himself trying to track down, first of all, to make sure that Vate hasn't made a mistake with his readings, because, you know, and then try to work out where on the ship someone accessed the ship's internal sensors.
Let's do your role first, because it kind of works, and then let's come to Vate's investigative.
I'm moving through the ship at the speed of plot, right? Like,
Okay.
Sometimes you can be from engineering to the bridge in a split second.
Yeah.
Other times it takes you the whole episode to get from after 4.
Absolutely. So what do you want to use to do this kind of investigation, to check the engineering logs and so on?
Oh, I think it's control and engineering.
Okay. And you have for this on hand the constant trait of this. Actually, let's look at this. I think this is actually where we kind of maybe look at this. A reason is about logic and meticulous analysis. And insight is about understanding. I think those are the two sort of perceptive ones of this. And it feels to me like in this case, one of those two plus engineering feels right.
Okay, reason then.
Okay. Difficulty would normally be 2. Somebody's trying to keep this concealed, but you've got your team of engineers on here, so you can call them in as an asset, so difficulty goes to a 1.
I'm curious whether computer expertise is in play here.
Yeah, I think that seems reasonable.
Programming of or study of computer system may add a bonus D20 to your pool.
Perfect.
So this is reason and engineering. So that's 14. No focuses are in play. 3 dice. That is 11, 6, 19. So 2 successes.
2 successes. So you will find that someone down on one of the lower decks, clearly with some engineering skill, kind of ran a sweep of the prisoner area, kind of as a check there, and then kind of scrubbed the record from it. But it does look like it was just a sensor sweep.
Yes, but where sensor sweeps lead, transporter links follow.
What is your second question? Or do you want to put the momentum in the pool?
Well, tell me whether this question is going too far. What I want to try to do is to map comm badge locations against the time window and location. Is that too much for one momentum? Or I don't know.
No, I think that's fair. And
I set up for a short list of.
Can get a short list that we can say is handed off to Vate. Does that seem fair?
That works for me.
Okay. Then Vate, we see you like coming out of a turbo lift with Lital having done the work, even though he told him not to, kind of, and gone to a set of people. What do you want to do with these names now that you've got, like, say, 5 names of crew members? What do you think, Fate? You're muted.
Apologies, I thought that was a question and directed it to Lital.
No, he's handed those names off to you. Narrowed the range.
With a note attached that says, I can list people, but this requires legwork.
Icon Ward. and I say, number one, can I distract you from your command duties for a second, sir?
Yes, Lieutenant. Go ahead.
Well, sir, uh, you know, I'm just a lonely lieutenant, but I could do with a hand tracing down some people who may have accessed the sensor systems inappropriately. Think you could spare some time away from your busy bridge duties?
I could indeed, yeah. Well, it sounds like if security is a concern, it deserves my attention.
Of course, that's why I brought it straight to the top.
I'll be right there.
Cool.
So we'll see you head down, and the two of you, are you kind of like essentially checking out the names, finding them, talking with them, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think in the TV show, it's a short montage of like doors opening and stepping up behind people at workstations and opening up their quarters doors and stuff like that until we get to whichever one's plot relevant.
Absolutely. Let me grab a picture here. So you will wonder, we see the checks, and then we get to a lieutenant, junior grade, Verwash. And we see you do the click on the door because he's shown to be there. Click on it a couple of times. Then you open it up and you kind of step in, and you will see that his comm badge is on essentially the bedstand by his bunk. He has taken it off.
Well, I don't like that.
I pick it up. Computer. Locate. Who is it again? Sorry.
Lieutenant junior grade Verwash.
Locate Lieutenant Junior Grades Verwash.
And it'll say Lieutenant junior grade Verwash is in his quarters.
Negative, computer. Lieutenant Junior Grade Verwash is simply without his comm badge. I wanted you to do a full scan for any unaccounted life forms on the ship.
Working. Lieutenant Verwash is on deck 13, which is the penal deck.
Significant glance between us, of course, and then
I think that warrants a yellow alert, frankly.
Well, I mean, in the Trek pacing, it's a significant glance between us as the camera pans in close on our faces, and then it's a cut. And when we come back from the adverts, it's a yellow alert.
Yellow alert.
Through the corridors. Yeah.
So I think that it's fair to have you do like an investigation roll to see, like, in the whole process of this, how long this has taken, and at what point do you intercept him? Does that seem fair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I do have the investigation focus.
Yeah.
Okay. You roll for it then, and I will assist you.
Okay.
Okay.
So insight or reason, it feels like.
Yeah, insight, I guess. It's a small crew, so we might know Verwash. We might know some of his habits. Might give us a lead.
Yeah, he's of a Rigelian. That he comes from a colony world. It doesn't talk about his upbringing much.
And I guess security, right? That seems like the no-brainer discipline for this.
And you've got to focus.
I do have a focus. Is it time to kick the tires on untapped potential?
let's see. Let's look at that.
It says whenever the characters succeed, so I'm presupposing success,
Mhm.
at a task for which they bought one or more additional dice with either momentum or threat, they may roll one die, the threat die presumably,
Yep.
receives bonus momentum equal to roll and adds 1 point to threat if an effect is rolled. So that sounds exciting.
Okay. Yeah. So spend a momentum.
Yeah.
You'll roll 3d20. Vate will roll 1d20.
Sorry, I said insight and security, right?
Well, I rolled a 2.
So you've got a success right there.
Does that not become a critical due to their focus?
Oh, if you have a focus that applies, then yes, and there'll be 2 successes for you.
Okay. And I rolled an 8, a 6,
Well,
and
you
a
only
10.
count your focus.
8, 6, and 10. So that is
3
successes for me.
plus 1 is 4. So 4 successes, and you succeed. So go ahead and roll one of those challenge dice.
Okay. A 2.
2. So you will get. So right now you have 6 momentum. Okay. 2 of
Okay.
it goes towards finding him.
Yeah.
A third goes to finding him before he can absolutely do anything and getting the drop on him. And then you've got 3 momentum left. You can throw those in the pool if you wish.
I think you're throwing them in the pool, but do we think we could spend 2 of those to overhear or somehow divine who he is working for or with?
I don't think you'll need to spend that. Let me just
okay.
say here.
Okay. So I'll bank the 3. And
I think we come to the 2 of you having rapidly moved. You come out into the hallway. You've gotten there. Yellow alert. Fairwash is moving down the hall. You see he has a phaser in hand, and like you step out, and he like shakily raises the phaser. Says, "Get out of my way! Get out of my way!"
Listen, Fairwash, I know you're scared, okay? I can sense that you're scared. No one needs to get hurt here, okay? Just explain what's going on.
Someone needs to get hurt. He's a butcher. He's a butcher. He killed my family. My whole colony destroyed. Me, a handful of others, the only one left alive. 7 days he tortured us.
You're right, Fairwash. This is the only way. Go on. We'll take care of him together.
So this feels like a little bit of psychological trickery here. Is it?
Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah. So how do you want to roll this?
I think it's a lie, right?
Yeah.
Lie. So I think that's a presence roll.
Yep.
Lie.
Yeah.
And
Command or security?
I think it is probably I think probably security, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's 14.
Yes. And I'm gonna spend from the pool.
Okay. So 3d20. As you kind of like talk, like convince him that you're going to let him by, he can go. Let's have you roll.
That is a 2, a 3, and a 19.
So that's going to be 2 successes. So he comes forward. What do we see on screen? The 2 of you like taking advantage of his kind of lowering of his guard.
Oh, I think he has me covered as I open the door to the security pens, you know, and I go like, "It's only right that you do it." And then as he steps forward with the phaser raised, you know, I press the button on the door, and the door on his hand, and then it's the whole straight across like the Star Trek, you know,
Absolutely.
roundhouse to the face. Yeah.
Perfect. And what are you doing when this is happening, Ensign Ward?
I mean, I think I am holding my breath, you know, because this is not the gambit I would have gone with, but that's why I'm not a security personnel. So yeah, I am ready to jump in if necessary, but I'm kind of just trusting Vate's call on this.
Yeah. You know, he gets the phaser up, he turns, he is aimed squarely at that Klingon in the holding cell. When the doors slam on his hand, the phaser goes flying. He falls backwards, and you know, with an arm chop, you will drop him to the ground. And I think you will hear laughter from the Klingon.
Yeah. I think, you know, as the door opens up and I'm restraining Wash, you know, Fair Wash, and I'm going, it's okay, it's okay, okay, it's okay, it's over now, it's over. And he starts to laugh, you know, and I go as red shirts come and take over the restraining of the elevated extra. I go over and I retrieve his phaser and I look up at the cold eyes of the Klingon, laughing away. I say, you know, almost got your wish. But warrior's death would you don't really deserve a warrior's death, do you?
Not today, not any day.
Let me out, and we'll find out who deserves a warrior's death.
Yeah. You know, security officer's log aims me to have had to turn against one of our own, but the principles of the Federation are too high for any one man to carry on their own, particularly in the face of such losses. I've recommended that Fairwash be given a full psychiatric remit right up and rotated off the ship until such time as he can return to full duties.
Perfect. So you know, he is held. Let's come back to we did is it Latal we should do next, or Ward?
I don't think I've got anything to do.
Okay.
I'm very happy
Sure.
just doing
Let-
stuff in engineering at this point.
let me
I've
come
done my
back.
interaction.
Let me come back to Ward first. And Ward, you've had that kind of awkward conversation with the Orion
Yeah.
junior officer. You've stopped a fellow Starfleet officer from throwing away his career just for vengeance. And that's the point at which the captain will call you to his ready room.
Yeah. Well, there's a big mystery box with a big red button in it. You know, I won't resist opening the box to press the button. You know, throw away your career on a personal grudge. No, definitely not. So I'll report, and I think, you know, obviously there was a yellow alert, so I presume I should be reporting that anyway, right?
Is everything under control?
Yes, Lieutenant Fate and I handled it. Everything
Was
seems
it
to be in order.
the prisoner 729?
No, nothing to do with him.
Oh,
The
okay.
Klingon.
The Klingon. What did the
He's made a
Klingon
lot
get?
of enemies with good reasons to hate him.
All right, but the person is contained.
Contained. I think we are
Well, it seems
happy
like
with the resolution.
smart, rapid thinking on your part, and certainly you have the loyalty of the crew there, your fellow crew members. That's good. That's good. It's good to see that you remain the same solid ensign that I worked with.
Well, we'll have to mention Lieutenant Vate, whose keen eye noticed the problem first off. He called me in, so
Yes, when I stopped by to check the holding cells, they mentioned that Vate had been spending quite a lot of time speaking with our unusual psychic prisoner. You don't think that's an issue, do you?
well, I think Lieutenant Vate takes his duties seriously, and he needs to know who his prisoners are to effectively oversee their transfer.
I don't particularly trust these empaths and psychics I was getting in your head, but
I can see why you wouldn't like that, sir.
absolutely.
Um,
And Ward,
sir,
I wanted to ask if you would consider a promotion.
I would consider a promotion, sir.
You may or may not be aware, I am taking on the helm of the Shenzhou B, combat-ready vessel. Fast response. Exciting opportunities await. And I could use someone I trust on board that craft.
I mean, I think I'd prefer to focus on the mission at hand before thinking about what we would do afterwards, if that's all right, sir.
I think I want a diplomacy role from you here.
Okay, so what is that?
Definitely presence,
Presence, yeah.
but I'll let you choose what you think the proper discipline is for this.
Is this command?
Command feels actually kind of right there.
Yeah. Definitely no focuses. Evasive action, maybe. Yeah, no focuses.
So
apply.
that's
Can
a
I-
12.
Can I just ask a question here? I
Sure.
have an ability called, where's it gone? Advisor. And I'm wondering if retrospectively any advice that Lital offered earlier might apply here. Experienced officer, when you assist another character using your command discipline, the character being assisted may
So
reroll 1 to 20.
assist is a mechanical action. So like, for example, Vate was assisting by giving that D20. So
No, fine.
that's an interesting idea, though. And it is possible to assist like at a distance if you're in communication with somebody and things like that. So there is a certain amount of range to it, but I don't think you're there at this point.
But it's like an active and not a setup action.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, so presence command flat. Let's see what this is. 1-9.
So that is 3 successes. So 2 successes.
Sorry, no, that's A9, not a 1 and a 9.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
So A9, so that's 1 success. So he does look at you and he says, I understand. You've always been loyal to a fault. I'm sure you've built up attachments here. Don't want to necessarily commit to something, but I hope you'll keep that in mind.
Sir, I mean, maybe, and this is a lie, maybe part of my reticence is because I don't really know exactly what we're doing right now. I get a feeling that there's something else going on, something that maybe you're not telling the crew, maybe for good reason. But if I'm your XO right now, I think I need to know.
I can understand why you would feel that way, but the mission is complicated enough without adding other things into the mix. This is a delicate operation, and one misstep will mean that the Romulans will walk away from the bargaining table, and we will lose our opportunity to recover those officers. So we have to be particularly careful. As well, we have the other 4 people are dangerous. They were chosen to provide a certain amount of legitimacy, but they are not to be trifled with. You've already seen what has happened with this incident with the Klingon. I can assure you that I am telling you everything that you need to know and everything that the crew needs to know.
Understood. As a matter of interest, Lowell, do I know the first officer who had been captured by the Romulans?
Yeah, absolutely. He would have served with him, and his name is, and let's get this again, my list here, Devane Orlis. Yeah, he says, I know you served with Commander Orlis. So you can understand that I expect that you will be as anxious as I to make sure that everything goes right.
Absolutely, sir. We're going to get Orlis back.
Dismissed.
Thank you, sir.
And I think we'll take our second break there and then come back and see what goes on. 5 minutes. So we'll come back, and as we do on these early episodes, we're still trying to get a sense of who each of our characters are. So, Vate, what are we going to see of you? What's the scene that you want to call? What do you want to do? Who do you want to interact with?
I think we see me and Lieutenant. Sorry, struggling with the massive NPC name, Verwash. I think the Klingon, he's gonna killing him is exactly what he wanted. All that's left to him now is a warrior's death. And I know that he murdered your colony, but today we stopped him from taking one more member of the Federation. You understand? I know it's not easy.
And still see them every night. And I thought I was done with it. And then to learn that he's on board and he's just going to live out his days in a prison. I mean, I know that means a lot to a Klingon, but it feels like I'll never have that wound closed.
And he puts out a hand and says, look, I'm not going to tell you that there's justice in the universe or in the galaxy or even in Starfleet, but there is here. He's going where he can't hurt anybody else and where he can't get what he wants. And you're here to make sure that you are done with it and that he's done. Once he gets there, there'll be no one to hurt but himself. The coward's way out.
He'll kind of like lets out a breath and he says, I'm sorry I let everyone down.
I just pat him on the head and say, look, as far as I'm concerned, what's going in that report is that you saw a threat from a prisoner and you took action. But luckily, it was an accidental discharge of the weapon and the prisoner was restrained. But one condition. I know the ship doesn't have a counselor. We're too small. We're too undermanned. But I'm going to need you to take some shore leave when we get to the when we finish with this.
Yes, sir.
Good man.
And let's cut to Latal. We've seen you in engineering quite a bit. So where else do we see you? On the holodeck or in your quarters or in the graveyard?
I think the graveyard. I think it's time that Han lets his beard down. And drinking steadily, knowing full well that Telebrite physiology deals very well with intoxicants and potentially toxic chemicals, and so he has to drink a lot to even take the edge off. And so I think we see him with a row of shot glasses and a set of empty shot glasses, and he's just steadily working his way down here. And I'm curious, how do we, is this self-service? Is there someone behind the bar?
We haven't.
How does graveyard work?
I would imagine, given the size, that you might have an emergency bartending hologram.
Oh yes, yeah. The EBH, emergency bartending hologram. Lovely, yes. And I think probably at the moment they're tuned. I think it helps if they're a civilian. I think that it's helpful for, we don't have a counselor, so maybe the EBH is a modified EMH with a psychological leaning.
They've bundled some things together. It seems like you've got some things that are troubling you, Lieutenant Commander. That's your 18th shot.
It's been a difficult day, bartender. In a difficult week, in what can sometimes seem like a very difficult career.
Do you want to talk about it?
I don't, but I think I'm going to have to.
I know that you spent a long time on Utopia Planitia. That seemed like a place that'd be paradise for you.
It's paradise if that's what you want, bartender. The trouble is that if it isn't what you like, what you were hoping for, every day you know you should enjoy, but you don't. And it just gnaws away at you. And sometimes I'm afraid that I let that show. I try hard not to, but sometimes it just slips out. That slight frustration, that slight spiky edge, maybe, which isn't me at all.
The little slight head tilt from the bartender as if to say, oh, really?
I think that's fine. I think that we that a lot's come out of that for me.
Okay. And then Ensign Ward, what about for you?
I wonder if we see me having cornered Tvelic or, dropped by his duty station or
Sure.
whatever.
You're doing okay?
Yeah.
They they put a lot on your shoulders right away.
Yeah. I mean, the command duties might be enough, but it's the everyone who's higher than ensign, which is just about everyone, it seems, looking at me sideways.
But they gotta know it's like he's Haskell seems odd to me.
How odd how.
It just doesn't add up.
Okay, well, I'll let you, fill in the details when you've got some more for me, because that is intriguing.
Like he hasn't talked at all to that liaison that he brought on. Hasn't even told her what to do. She's just kind of been checking in on the Orions and such. It just seems real weird to me.
I mean, that was her job, right? To keep an eye on them.
Yeah. But like we've been in Starfleet long enough that we know that when you have a job, somebody tells you what to do. Like they give you orders. They set you to a task. They have a documented rota, and you got to check in with things. I mean, hell, you served with Latal. Nothing gets done without a 5-minute, assessment on practicalities.
I mean, is that making your security instincts tingle a little bit?
I don't like to say that because then people get ideas about the antenna.
Well, that's why I said security and not,
Yeah, but there's something up.
Could I ask you to, on the QT, take a look?
Take a look at what? Like, what do you mean?
At her, at what her deal is?
Yeah, I could do that if you want.
I do want. I mean, I came down here because I felt I had been maybe harsh on you in my after action report.
I got sloppy.
I just didn't want to brush anything under the carpet just because.
Now, I could tell that about you, that you wouldn't compromise. And that's what I appreciate about you.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah. Yeah. Take a look, see what you find out, and let me know.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I think
it feels like a good
Yeah.
scene there.
I do have a role ability that I could bring into play if Tvelic comes to Vate for some digging around.
Let's do that scene. We'll do another kind of once around because I do have something to set up. So there is a little while later that Tvelic comes down, and he's not particularly subtle. Like, so what do you know about this Lieutenant Junior Tatasa?
that she's assigned to look after the Orions and that she came on board with Haskell. Do you have
Anything
something?
else?
What would you like to know, Havelic? Want me to set you up? Is that it?
No, no, not that. No, I don't think I could handle an
I always
Orion.
thought that you and Ward would make a great couple.
No, she's a little bossy.
Well, she does outrank you today.
Well, today. That could change in a moment, he says.
Why? What about Tatassa's got you spooked?
And he'll kind of say like he doesn't say it directly, but he kind of hints around like there's something he's got a weird feeling about that.
Well, I'll bring up her records on the computer. Bring up the Starfleet records for Lieutenant Tatassa.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that we get like the stuff that he'll have already looked up, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And my role ability is once per adventure, I may create an advantage without requiring a task or spending any momentum, threat, or determination. This advantage must reflect information, equipment, physical resources, or access to a location provided to me by a contact or by my agency. So I was thinking of using this to be like, we go through the official Starfleet records, and I say, I have a few tricks to finding out maybe a bit more. Leave it with me. And then, typing in some sort of code and then contact made, message pending. Like,
Let's do a roll. Like this is investigation.
What can I create the advantage of? Having access to a
restricted access. Yeah.
Which I think is through some anonymous contact who, I don't know, let's call them Rook.
Okay. Let's have you roll. What do you think is the appropriate for this? Security, definitely. You're kind of doing this investigation.
Yeah. I think it's probably reason.
Okay.
Yeah, reason. Yeah, it sounds like the best one there.
So 13 and difficulty of 1 because of the trait.
Yeah, I'm always gonna spend 1 from the pool as long as we have 2 in the pool and there's no stakes.
Yeah.
And I have espionage as a focus, if that counts.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, I only got 1 success. It's a good job I spent the momentum. 19, 18, and 5.
Ooh. So I'm going to spend 2 and take that 19 as a complication. I think we see somewhere on the ship someone getting an alert that someone is digging. I think it's in shadow, so we don't see who it is, but we see them notice that. But I think the thing that you'll get back is she's clean as a whistle. Young, inexperienced. And here's what I'll give you for the success. They say Haskell had the opportunity to take on a more senior person with experience with the Orions, but passed them over to bring her on board.
Either she's being set up to be a fall guy, or she's not as clean as she looks. It's the only reason I can think that Haskell would bring somebody else on board. He looks at Thevelic. Seems like he has a tendency to surround himself with junior officers.
You think that, like, and he kind of looks around like he doesn't want to say this out loud on the ship, but do you think Ward's in any danger?
I think if he thinks that he can get that Ward will serve whatever agenda he's got, then I think he's got the wrong read on Ward. But I still don't know what he's doing here.
And I think we cut from that to the ship coming out of warp. I've kind of described what the prison planet, like the things like, Donna, what do we see on screen? Like, we're not yet at the prison planet. We haven't reached there, but we can see it in the distance on screen. So what does it look like?
I think I'm imagining like Io's bigger, nastier cousin, right? So volcanic and like a lethal atmosphere. I think whoever founded this obviously thought, well, if you escape, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
So better not try. And I think we see the moons around this kind of planetoid
are
just obviously volcanic at some stage, but just destroyed by this internal pressure. So no nice moons, all just like a mini asteroid belt around this planet.
Alan, what else do we see?
I think these gravitic anomalies are still in place. And so the trouble with this belt of debris is its components move unpredictably. So this isn't like navigating a ring system where they kind of go round. These fragments of moon have been drawn out of their normal orbit. And the strength of these gravitic wells waxes and wanes, meaning that sometimes these things are moving quickly in one direction, then they stop. So it's very unpredictable. That's why it's an effective barrier.
And I think even though it's a gravitic well, I think we see a special effect on screen. So we get these kind of purple flares of these things and the moving around. And imagine we got the planet and then there's almost this shell of this debris around it as we come out of orbit. And
where those wells are sufficiently powerful, there's the risk one day they could form a black hole. So as they squeeze matter and space, they glow.
Nice. I like that. And Ward, I think that this is probably like this is your first. You've done the mapping of this, you've done the planning of this, but this is your first real look at it. And Captain Haskell says, "We'll be making contact with the authorities in about 6 hours. That's when the window's open for communication. So we've got some time. You think you're going to be up to flying us in, Ward?"
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Well, steady course to coordinates X7J by blah, blah, blah to get a holding position.
I'm guessing we're all on the bridge at this point because we need someone on tactical just in case one of these things needs to be blown out of the sky. And I don't think that Letal is keen to wait on the communications delay. He wants to be on the bridge in case Ward needs some help.
Lieutenant Commander Letal, to get the on your comm badge while you're staying there at tactical.
Yes.
There's been an incident in engineering.
An incident you can't deal with?
One of the new crew members seems to have been killed in a plasma conduit accident.
On my way. Permission to leave the bridge, Captain?
Yes, go.
And I hand off the engineering and operations console to a lieutenant, leaving Vate, I'm guessing, at tactical.
And we'll cut down to engineering, and we'll see the team around a spot a little ways off from engineering, and of course, there's not much left of the body there. But we think we see the doctor, the ship's physician there, and you see he looks very puzzled.
What happened, Doctor?
Well, it looks like a plasma conduit accident, from what I can tell. I mean, the damage is clearly that, but there's something strange here.
And I think I need to intuit what is strange here, so I can tell the doctor.
Well, this is what the doctor is. This is what the doctor is going to say to you, because this is my teaser end for the thing. He goes, well, this is supposedly Ensign Remoody. But from what I can tell from this genetic material left behind, it was a Romulan.
I beg your pardon, Doctor?
And I think we're going to cut there, and that is our episode outro. So we have an accidental death of a Romulan disguised as an ensign. We've got our Orion pirates. We've got the psychic, and we've got prisoner 729, as well as Haskell's plans. And that is going to be our setup for the second half of this. Assuming Paul is here next time, we'll bring him in on a support character, and then bring back the captain at the end. So of course we're going to have some flying challenges and some other stuff going wrong next time. I would like to do stars and wishes, if you don't mind. Lieutenant Vate.
Stars for a nice starship-based episode. I do love an episode of Star Trek that's set on the Enterprise, or Voyager or whatever, aka most episodes.
Yes.
I like Ward being put into the wildly inappropriate now the ensign is in charge of the ship, only in Starfleet. I love that. And the return of all the enemies. And I of course love Latal's being so very brusque and anal and having no personal skills whatsoever. It's perfect. I really enjoyed the session. Wishes is, I feel like we're just now hitting we had the another star for the pacing of the structure of it, right? Because we had the Starfleet officer try and kill the Klingon, which is the fake out of the episode, right? Like that's the incident that causes some excitement and drama that is resolved, but then the other things kick in for the actual crucial part. And pacing wise, I'm just conscious that we're in the pre-inciting incident of a Star Trek episode.
Mm-hmm.
The prison escort is one thing, but the conceit of playing a Star Trek game and a Star Trek episode, right, is that you just do your duty as normal until the X factor comes in, because you don't watch the Starfleet episodes that are just about the routine prison transports. You see the Starfleet episodes that are about the, turns out Q really loves this rogue archaeologist who's been arrested or something, But yeah, I deeply enjoy it. I wasn't sure where you were going in terms of like one session or two, so I didn't want to, but I did enjoy everything that we did.
Yeah, I debated about that, and I thought it because I wanted to give it a chance to breathe. And have all of you have a chance to do some RP. I thought it felt better split across two. So, anything wishes wise?
Wishes wise, I don't know. I've got a chance to be bold and heroic and empathic. Wishes wise is for, I suppose, the escalation and the complicating factors. Maybe having, I love this prison, and I love the fact that we are delivering on that interaction with the the stellar civilizations that I asked for. This is very much a intersection of all of it, even if it is a shit bottle episode. I guess some of the fascinating gravitational anomalies and stellar features of this system would be very interesting to see come into play next session, and possibly that whole what's the complication here, Starfleet wise? Is it all a Romulan trap? That kind of, and how's Haskell involved?
Dun, dun, dun. Awesome. Donna, Ward.
Yeah. Probably most of what Will has said will go for me as well. The direct but daren't be insubordinate Latal was fun.
So good.
The empathic dueling, yet again fun, and we still have to dig into what this knife is. More breadcrumbs, which are tasty breadcrumbs. So there's that. And yes, I guess the pastas prologue of Haskell showing up, perfect. Let's confront our not quite nemesis in Commandos, and plenty of awkward command situations for Ward to face.
Awesome. Anything wishes wise?
I mean, I'm not sure this is a wish, but maybe like I wonder. So when Paul is back next week and playing a side character, does that mean we can trust that side character or not? We will see.
I love it.
So looking forward to that sudden elevation to a side character mattering a lot more than they did this week.
Awesome. Alan.
Stars, I think the pacing was spot on. I think that this, we're very early in this series, and while you're trying to emulate a TV series, we need to have that chance to have a little bit of exposition about relationships and stuff. And so that took a lot of today, but I think it was well worth it. I think that we've got interesting, again, tasty breadcrumbs around, what is with this blade that Vate seems, I'm not even certain why he's allowed to wear it. It's certainly not, regulation dress. And I don't think he has any cultural connection that means he can wear it. So I'm certainly concerned about that. I think I'm loving Ward as the youngest number one in Starfleet, and I'm having great fun with Latal, I have to say. And kudos for early on introducing Haskell, because you could have kept him in your back pocket and he could have turned up halfway through this run of 12 sessions, wherever it is. But I think getting him in now has given both Ward and Latal a fantastic opportunity to kind of display character, to role play. And having a psychic does kind of the same for Vate. So and wishes, I don't know how you're going to choose between all the goodies you've set up. Rampant dangerous prisoners, difficult gravitic phenomena, Romulans hovering over our shoulder. I'm banking on there not being a space battle unless you've really cracked that mechanic. Because I do not want a very large bird of prey to appear out of nowhere, just as Latal is struggling to maintain some kind of black hole from forming. and Ward is in command because Haskell's on the ground negotiating with Vate when a psychic gets loose. I don't know how you choose between all that, but you've given yourself plenty to work with, Lowell. So
I have.
good for
Yeah.
you. However you cut that cake, I will be happy.
Thank you. I appreciate you all playing along with, one of the things that's always interesting is when you go from 4 to 3, there is a little more RP space. But I thought that you guys all made really good use of that. And I love you playing along with my vision of this as being a Star Trek episode. I think that's the most important thing, is we always look at everything as being from the show. And I thought you guys did a great job with that. Everybody's scenes were dynamite. So I just wanted to say that. I'm going to stop the recording.